The sun was sinking behind the tall palm trees, tinting the quiet village in warm golden light. Birds glided lazily across the sky, and the distant sound of drums from children playing echoed through the dusty paths. Deep inside the countryside, where the modern world felt far away, the gentle Koru River flowed with slow, peaceful grace. Dominic Adeyemi stood at its edge, his hands buried inside his pockets. The breeze whispered through the trees, brushing gently against his dark brown skin. But inside his chest, there was a storm he could no longer contain. He had come to this remote village seeking a moment of peace, something money, luxury, and power had failed to give him. His life as a billionaire was everything from the outside but empty on the inside. Meetings never stopped, reporters followed him everywhere, and people only cared about his wealth. Here, by the river for the first time in months, he felt human again. He inhaled deeply, letting the fresh scent of wet leaves calm him. The river water shimmered like melted bronze, reflecting the fading light. Dominic stepped forward to get a better view, unaware of how slippery the riverbank had become after the previous night's rain. His polished shoes pressed onto the soft soil, gave way. There was a sharp crack under his feet. Then his entire body plunged into the cold, rushing water. The world spun. A burst of icy shock punched the air from his lungs. He tried to fight his way up, kicking desperately, but the mud pulled him downward and the strong current dragged him deeper. His heart hammered violently as he clawed upward, gasping for air that refused to come. The river closed over his head. Darkness swallowed him. His limbs weakened. His sight blurred. He had never felt fear like this. Not in board meetings. Not in business wars. Not in the eyes of the world. This was death. He felt his consciousness slipping. His body stopped fighting. Everything turned quiet. On the other side of the river, Hannah walked barefoot along the narrow dirt path, balancing an empty clay pot on her hip. Her deep dark chocolate skin glowed under the soft sunset, and her braided hair swayed with each step. She hummed a quiet tune, an old village song her late father used to sing to her. Hannah came to the river every evening, the routine as natural as breathing. But today felt different. A strange silence wrapped around the riverbank. The usual sound of splashing water from fishermen was absent. Then, splash. A harsh, violent sound tore through the quiet evening. Her eyes shot open. She dropped her clay pot, letting it shatter on the ground as she sprinted toward the water. At first she saw nothing. Then she noticed a body floating, half submerged, drifting helplessly. Her heart raced. Oh God, somebody is drowning. Without thinking twice, without fear, Hannah leaped into the water. The cold hit her like a slap, but she pushed forward. Her arms cut through the water with urgency as she swam toward the sinking stranger. When she reached him, his body was heavy, limp. His eyes were closed, lips pale, his skin cold. He was barely alive. Using every ounce of her strength, she dragged him to the riverbank and rolled him onto the ground. Water gushed from his mouth, but he still wasn't breathing. Hannah trembled, fear gripping her heart. She leaned over him, pressing her ear to his chest. Nothing. Silence. No, please. Don't die. She cried softly. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know where he came from. But she refused to let him slip away. Hands shaking, she tilted his head back just the way the village nurse once taught her. She placed her lips on his, warm, firm, and desperate, and breathed life into him. Once, twice, 3 times. Suddenly, he coughed violently, choking out water. His chest rose sharply. His eyelids fluttered. Hannah gasped with relief, tears filling her eyes. Dominic's blurred vision slowly caught the outline of a girl hovering over him. Her face was beautiful, soft, glowing, an angel coated in golden light. But before his sight cleared, she panicked. Heart pounding, she stood up and ran. She vanished into the trees, too shy and afraid to stay. Dominic's hand reached weakly toward where she disappeared. His lips parted. Oh, are you? But only the wind answered him. 2 days had passed since the riverbank incident, yet Hannah still found herself thinking about the stranger whose life she saved. She didn't know his name, where he came from, or why he had been lying helpless by the riverbank. All she knew was the feeling she had when she pressed her lips to his, desperate, shaky, innocent, and the way he had gasped back to life as if dragged from the edge of death. She tried to push the thought away as she went about her chores, fetching water, peeling cassava, tending to her small garden. Life in her quiet rural village near Enugu had its rhythm, and Hannah, 20, dark-skinned with warm brown eyes and simple beauty, lived in that rhythm daily. But fate had already shifted. Far away in the bustling heart of Lagos, Dominic Okafor, 32, tall, dark-skinned, powerful yet troubled, stood by his penthouse window overlooking a city that sparkled with wealth and ambition. He was dressed in a crisp black shirt, sleeves folded at the forearm. His usually sharp eyes were softer than usual, touched by a rare memory, the girl who saved him. He had woken up in a hospital after being rescued by his security team. Everyone assumed they had found him just in time, but Dominic knew the truth. A girl saved my life. A stranger. With a kiss. He remembered her warm, trembling hands on his cheeks. Her soft voice calling him back. Her dark skin glowing in the afternoon sun. He remembered her eyes before everything went black, innocent yet bold. The image haunted him. He needed to find her. So, despite his busy schedule as a billionaire CEO, he instructed his team to take him back to the quiet town near the river where he nearly died. Not just to thank her, but because something inside him refused to rest. Hannah was returning from the farm that afternoon when she noticed an expensive black SUV parked near the village square. Men in suits stood beside it, something none of the villagers ever saw. Her heart skipped. Something, or someone, important was here. She tried to walk past quietly, but one of the men approached her. "Excuse me, miss," he said politely. "Our boss would like to speak with you." Hannah frowned. "Me? What?" Before she could panic, the back door of the SUV opened. Dominic stepped out. Not weak, not unconscious, but tall, confident, and breathtakingly handsome. His dark skin glowed in the sunlight. His well-trimmed beard framed strong features. His eyes softened when they landed on her. For a moment, Hannah forgot how to breathe. He looked nothing like the helpless man she rescued. He looked like someone carved from authority and wealth. "Hannah," he said, his voice deep but gentle. "I've been searching for you." Her heart pounded. "You remember me? Remember you?" Dominic took a slow step closer. "You saved my life." Dominic explained everything, his business trip, how fatigue and stress caused him to collapse near the riverbank, and how she had given him CPR that brought him back. Hannah's cheeks burned when he mentioned the kiss, but he smiled warmly. "You didn't just give me breath," he said. "You gave me a second chance." He reached into the SUV and pulled out a small, elegant gift bag. Hannah stepped back. "No, sir, I didn't help you for money." Dominic paused, impressed. Most people he met were drawn to his wealth. But she, simple, dark-skinned Hannah in her worn farm clothes, was different. "I know," he said softly. "That's why I want to help you." Dominic asked her about her life, her dreams, her struggles. Each answer made his heart tighten. She had never left the village. She had no father. She worked hard but lived with barely anything. The purity of her life touched him in a way wealth never did. After a long pause, he spoke again. "Hannah, would you let me show you the world beyond this village? I want to help you, truly." Hannah stared at him, confused, shy, overwhelmed. But something in his eyes felt safe, genuine. And for the first time in her life, she felt seen. Her voice trembled. I don't know, sir." Dominic smiled with the softness of a man whose heart had already made a decision. "Then let me give you time. But remember, sometimes destiny knocks only once." He returned to his car, leaving Hannah standing in the soft evening light, her heart racing, her world shaken, her future beginning to unfold. 3 days passed after Dominic's unexpected visit, but Hannah's world had not returned to normal. From the outside, she still fetched water, cooked, cleaned, and walked the same familiar dusty paths. But inside her heart, everything had shifted. Her mind replayed every detail, the black SUV, the intimidating guards, and most of all, Dominic's deep, warm voice when he said, "You saved my life. Let me change yours." Those words echoed inside her chest like a heartbeat she didn't understand. She had never met a man like him, dark-skinned, powerful, elegant, and yet gentle when he spoke to her. His presence lingered like perfume even after he left. But Hannah was afraid. She was just a poor village girl with nothing but hope in her hard-working hands. What could she possibly have to do with a wealthy man from the city? Meanwhile, far in Lagos, Dominic wasn't the same either. He sat in his office, surrounded by glass walls and gold accents, but his mind was far from business. Even during board meetings, he found himself drifting, thinking of the riverbank. Thinking of the girl with innocent eyes who didn't hesitate to save him. He had met countless elegant women in the city, women who wore diamonds and designer gowns. But none of them had the purity, bravery, or softness Hannah had. She had touched him in a way nothing else had. He tried to focus, but everything reminded him of her. Her simple wrapper dress, her trembling hands, the courage in her eyes. Finally, he made up his mind. He wasn't going to wait for fate. He was going to bring her into his world. And he wanted to be there for her every step. Late the next afternoon, Hannah was washing clothes by the riverbank when she heard the familiar sound of an engine approaching. Her heart jumped. She turned, and there it was again. The black SUV. Her breath caught. Dominic stepped out slowly, dressed in a navy blue polo, dark trousers, and polished shoes that didn't belong in a rural village. The moment his eyes found hers, a soft smile formed on his lips. "Hannah," he called gently. She stood up quickly, wiping water from her hands. "Good afternoon, sir." Dominic chuckled softly. "I told you to call me Dominic." Her cheeks warmed, but she didn't argue. He walked closer, stopping just a few inches from her, near enough that she could smell his clean luxury cologne, something she had never smelled before. "I came back because—" He paused, searching her face. "I want to show you something." Hannah blinked. "Show me what?" He took a small breath. "My world." She froze. "I want you to come with me to Lagos," Dominic continued. "Just for a visit. You'll stay in a safe place. I promise you nothing bad will happen. I want you to see that your life can be more than this." Hannah's eyes widened in shock. Her hands trembled. "Me?" she whispered. "To Lagos?" "Yes," he said softly. "You." Hannah stepped back, overwhelmed. How could she enter a billionaire city life? Who was she to walk into mansions and luxurious spaces? Her heart raced with fear, but also excitement. She thought about the struggles in the village. The nights she slept hungry. The dreams she had buried long ago. Could this be her only chance to escape poverty? Dominic saw the storm in her eyes. He reached out gently, not touching her, but close enough for her to feel comfort. "Hannah, I'm not forcing you," he said softly. "But I believe you deserve better. You risked your life to save me. Let me at least show you what your future could look like." His sincerity was undeniable. His eyes held no deceit, only gratitude. And something warmer she didn't understand yet. Hannah closed her eyes for a few seconds. When she opened them, she found Dominic watching her with hope. Her voice came out shaky but sure. I'll go with you." A relieved smile spread across Dominic's face, soft, genuine, and full of something she had never seen in a man before. "Thank you, Hannah," he whispered. "You made the right choice." For the first time in her life, Hannah felt the heavy doors of destiny opening just for her. She didn't know what awaited her in Lagos. Luxury, fear, confusion, or maybe love. But she was ready to step into a new world. And Dominic was ready to lead her into it. The SUV moved smoothly along the dusty village road, but Hannah's heart was anything but calm. She sat by the window, hands trembling slightly as she held onto the strap of her small nylon bag, the only bag she owned. Inside it were just 2 wrappers, 1 faded blouse, and a worn Bible. Her entire life was inside that small bag. Dominic sat on the other side of the car, watching her quietly. He didn't want to overwhelm her, but he could see the nervousness in her eyes. She looked like a small bird about to take flight for the first time, scared yet ready. "Hannah," he said gently, "if you feel uncomfortable, tell me. We can stop anytime." She shook her head quickly. "No, sir, Dominic, I'm fine." Her voice trembled and Dominic smiled softly. She was trying her best to be brave. The car sped past tall palm trees, wide farmlands, and small clusters of mud houses until the village disappeared behind them. With every kilometer they traveled, Hannah felt the world she knew slipping farther away. Hours later, the scenery changed. The first thing Hannah noticed were the roads, smooth and wide. Then the buildings, tall, bright, shining like they were made of glass. Cars zoomed past them faster than any vehicle she had ever seen. Her mouth parted slightly in awe. This is Lagos?" she whispered. Dominic glanced at her with a smile. "Welcome to my world." Hannah pressed her hands against the window, staring at the skyscrapers, the billboards, the busy streets filled with people dressed in clothes she had never imagined. Nobody walked barefoot. Nobody carried buckets of water on their heads. Everything felt unreal. Dominic watched her fascination with quiet admiration. Seeing her innocence made him see the city differently, as if through fresh eyes. She deserves this, he thought. She deserves so much more. When the SUV pulled into a quiet, elite part of the city, Hannah's heartbeat doubled. Huge gates opened automatically as they approached. Inside was a mansion, grand, luxurious, glowing like something out of a dream. White pillars, tall glass windows, lights lining the driveway, and a fountain that sparkled under the sun. Hannah froze. "This is where you live?" she whispered in disbelief. "Yes," Dominic said softly. "And now it's your home too. Even if only for a while." Her knees felt weak. She had never imagined a place like this. Her mind swam with confusion, fear that she didn't belong here, and wonder at why Dominic would bring someone like her to such a beautiful world. A maid rushed forward to open her door, but Hannah panicked and tried to open it herself, stumbling slightly as she stepped out. Dominic quickly caught her arm before she fell. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe here." His hand was warm around her arm, firm but gentle. Hannah looked up at him, breath uneven. "Why? Why are you doing all this for me?" she asked. Dominic held her gaze for a long moment. "Because you saved my life," he said quietly. "And because something about you makes me want to protect you." Hannah's heart fluttered uncontrollably. Walking into the mansion was more shocking than anything Hannah seen outside. White marble floors that shone like water. Golden wall lamps. A staircase so tall it felt like it reached heaven. Huge paintings, expensive chairs, rugs soft like clouds. Her legs felt like jelly. She tried not to stare, but everything was overwhelming. Dominic stood beside her, watching her reactions with soft amusement. She reminded him of a child seeing the ocean for the first time, pure, unfiltered amazement. He gestured toward a hallway. "Come, let me show you your room." "Room?" she repeated, stunned. "Not a mat. Not a wooden bed. The room." He led her upstairs to a guest room decorated in warm brown and cream tones, soft, elegant, comfortable. There was a giant bed with fluffy pillows, a wardrobe, a mirror taller than she was, and a balcony overlooking the garden. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed. "Is something wrong?" Dominic asked softly. She shook her head, voice breaking. "Nothing is wrong. I've just never seen anything like this." Dominic stepped closer, his tone tender. "You deserve good things, Hannah. Don't be afraid to accept them." Their eyes held each other for a long, quiet moment, warm, intense, unexpected. Later that evening, after Dominic left her to rest, Hannah wandered around the room touching things gently, running her fingers along the soft blanket, opening the bathroom door in shock when she saw the shining bathtub, trying to understand the strange switches on the wall. Her life had changed in a single day. She lay on the giant bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what fate had in store for her. She didn't know that Dominic was in his own room, thinking of her too, with the same quiet intensity. She didn't know that her arrival had awakened something deep, protective, and dangerous inside him. And she didn't know that this was only the beginning of a love story destiny had written long before they met. Hannah didn't sleep for a long time. Even though the bed beneath her felt softer than anything she'd ever touched, so soft it felt like lying on cotton clouds, her eyes remained open, staring at the ceiling carved with golden patterns. The faint hum of the air conditioning filled the room, a sound she wasn't used to. In the village, nights were filled with crickets and distant drums. Here, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Hannah sat up slowly, hugging her knees to her chest. Her dark skin glowed gently under the warm bedside lamp. She still couldn't believe all of this was real. Not long ago, she was fetching water from the river. Now she was in a mansion with marble floors, electric lights, and a bathroom bigger than her mother's entire house. Her life had changed so suddenly that she felt she might wake up any second back in her village hut. A soft knock broke the silence. Her heart jumped. "Hannah?" Dominic's calm voice came from outside. "Are you awake?" She touched her chest, trying to steady her breathing. "Yes," she whispered. Dominic opened the door gently and stepped inside. He wasn't wearing his usual suit. Instead, he wore a simple black t-shirt and casual trousers, making him look softer, younger, yet still strikingly handsome in a way that made Hannah's heart flutter. The soft lighting made his dark skin glow, highlighting the angles of his face. He stopped a respectful distance away. "I realized I never asked if you ate anything," he said quietly. "You must be hungry." Hannah shook her head quickly. "No, I'm fine." Dominic smiled gently. "You're not." He walked to a small table and lifted the lid off a tray she hadn't noticed earlier. Steam rose from a plate of jollof rice, fried plantain, and chicken. Her eyes widened. For me?" "Of course," Dominic said softly. "Everything in this room is for you." Hannah swallowed hard. She suddenly felt emotional again, and she turned her face slightly away, afraid he might see the tears forming in her eyes. Dominic noticed. "Hannah," he said softly, stepping a little closer. "You don't have to hide from me." She looked up, her voice barely steady. "I don't understand why you're being so kind to me," she confessed. "No one has ever treated me like I matter." Dominic's expression softened more deeply than she had ever seen. "You matter," he said, his voice rich with sincerity. "More than you realize." Hannah felt her breath catch. Dominic hesitated, then walked closer, slowly, gently, like someone approaching a frightened animal. Let me ask you something, he said softly. Do you trust me? She looked into his eyes, dark, warm, steady, and felt something deep inside her shift. Yes, she whispered. He exhaled, relieved. Then let me help you, he said quietly. Not because I pity you, not because you owe me, but because I want to. Hannah's heart thumped loudly. She didn't understand this world. She didn't understand this man. But she understood his eyes. And his eyes were telling the truth. Dominic gestured toward the balcony. Come, he said. Let me show you something. Hannah followed him, their footsteps soft against the polished floor. When he opened the balcony door, a cool Lagos breeze swept over her. She gasped. The city stretched before her in a glittering ocean of light, cars like tiny stars moving along the roads, skyscrapers shining under the night sky, billboards glowing in bright colors. It's beautiful, she whispered, leaning forward slightly. Dominic watched her face, the way her eyes sparkled, the way the wind brushed against her braids, the way her dark skin glowed under the moonlight. I wanted you to see this, he said softly. I wanted you to know that the world is much bigger than you think. And you're allowed to be part of it. Hannah turned to him, heart pounding in her chest. Why me, Dominic? She whispered. Out of everyone in this city, why me? Dominic's jaw tightened slightly, as if he were fighting his own emotions. Because the day you saved me, he said, you didn't just pull my body out of the river. He paused, voice dropping lower. You pulled my heart into your hands without even knowing. Hannah's breath left her body. Silence fell between them, warm, electric, loaded with something neither of them was ready to name yet. Dominic stepped back slightly, giving her space before he said something too deep, too soon. Eat, he murmured. Rest. Tomorrow. I'll show you more. He turned to leave, but right before he stepped out, he looked over his shoulder, his voice softer, deeper. Good night, Hannah. She blushed. Good night, Dominic. When he closed the door gently behind him, Hannah pressed a hand to her chest, breath shaky. She didn't know what was happening between them. But she knew one thing. Her life was never going to be the same again. Hannah woke up the next morning with a mixture of excitement and fear swirling in her chest. The soft bed felt like a cloud beneath her, a far cry from the raffia mat she slept on back in the village. She sat up slowly, brushing her dark fingers across the silky blanket as if she still wasn't sure all this was real. How can someone like me live in a place like this? Why is Dominic helping me so much? Questions chased each other in her mind, refusing to settle. She pushed herself out of bed and stepped onto the cool marble floor. Even the air inside the mansion felt different, fresh, scented with something soft and expensive she couldn't name. When she opened the balcony curtains, the morning sun washed over her dark skin, warm and comforting. Far below, she saw gardeners trimming flowers and security guards patrolling. Everything felt organized, peaceful, and intimidating. She placed her hand over her beating chest. This is a new life, she whispered. But am I ready? Hannah nearly jumped when the door opened behind her. Dominic appeared, tall, dark-skinned, confident yet gentle, dressed in a crisp white shirt and black trousers. Good morning, Hannah. His voice was warm, soft, different from any man she had known. She lowered her gaze shyly. Good morning, Dominic. He stepped inside, holding a small box. I have something for you. Her heart skipped. He opened it slowly, revealing a simple but beautiful silver necklace, a small heart-shaped pendant that sparkled softly. It wasn't too extravagant, but it was elegant, meaningful. Hannah froze. For me? She whispered, eyes wide. Dominic nodded. Yes, I want you to feel welcome, safe, valued. He stepped closer and gently lifted her chin. Hannah, don't ever think you're less than anyone here. Her eyes shimmered. No one had ever spoken to her that way. Dominic walked behind her and fastened the necklace around her neck, his fingers brushing lightly against her skin. Hannah's breath caught. She had never felt so nervous, or so seen. After breakfast, Dominic introduced her to someone new, a friendly woman named Mrs. Beasy, dark-skinned, in her late 30s, stylish and warm-hearted. She specialized in teaching young girls etiquette, confidence, and basic education. Hannah, Dominic said, Mrs. Beasy will help you learn everything you need to feel comfortable in the city. Hannah glanced nervously at the woman. Good morning, Ma. Mrs. Beasy smiled warmly. My dear, relax. I'm here to guide you, not judge you. We will take things one step at a time. Hannah sighed with relief. Throughout the day, Mrs. Beasy taught her how to speak confidently, how to sit properly, how to walk in simple heeled sandals, how to read and write better, how to use basic household appliances. Hannah made mistakes. Many mistakes. But she laughed at herself, and so did Mrs. Beasy. Dominic checked on her several times, watching from the hallway with quiet admiration. She was trying so hard. She was willing to learn. She was determined not to embarrass herself. And with every smile she gave, something inside him tightened. Something he wasn't ready to name. In the afternoon, Dominic walked into the sitting room just as Hannah finished her lesson. She stood when he entered out of respect. "Are you tired?" he asked. "A little," she admitted, smiling shyly. "But I'm fine." "Good," he said. "Because I'm taking you out." Her eyes widened. "Out? Where?" He smiled. "Shopping." Hannah almost lost balance. No, Dominic. I don't need anything. The clothes in the room are already too much for someone like me." "Hannah," he interrupted softly, "I want you to have clothes you choose for yourself. Things that make you feel confident." Her lips trembled. This man. He was changing her entire world with simple kindness. The city mall was bigger than anything Hannah had ever imagined. Bright lights, shiny floors, glass stores filled with elegant dresses and shoes. People walked past smelling of expensive perfume, holding bags filled with items she couldn't even name. Hannah held Dominic's arm gently, not out of romance but fear she would get lost. He noticed. "Don't be scared. I'm right here," he assured her. In one store, the attendants quickly recognized Dominic, a powerful billionaire, and rushed to attend to them. "Sir, welcome. Please come in." Hannah shrank back, overwhelmed. Dominic whispered to her, "Just breathe. You're safe." She nodded. They helped her try on. Simple but beautiful dresses. Jeans and tops. Sandals and sneakers. Soft gowns for home wear. Every time she stepped out of the changing room, Dominic's eyes softened, like he was seeing a new part of her bloom. "She's beautiful," one of the attendants whispered. Dominic smiled proudly. And for the first time in her life, Hannah looked at herself in a long mirror and saw someone who mattered. As they walked out of the mall, carrying bags filled with her new clothes, Hannah suddenly stumbled on a small step. Dominic caught her immediately, arms strong, protective, pulling her against his chest. For a moment, they froze. Her dark eyes lifted to his. His heart hammered. Her breath trembled. The closeness was dangerous. Unexpected. Intense. Dominic swallowed hard and slowly released her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. But inside, her heart was racing like a drum. And Dominic, he knew he was in trouble. He wasn't supposed to feel this way. He wasn't supposed to care this deeply. He wasn't supposed to fall. But it was already happening. The drive back to the mansion was quiet. Too quiet. Hannah stared out the window, touching the small silver heart necklace he had given her earlier. Dominic kept glancing at her, trying to hide the storm brewing inside him. He didn't know how to slow it down. He didn't know how to stop it. All he knew was, Hannah wasn't just a village girl he rescued anymore. She was becoming someone precious. Someone who touched parts of him no one else ever had. And he didn't know what destiny had planned. But something told him their hearts were already tied in ways neither of them understood yet. Weeks passed inside Dominic's mansion. Weeks of learning, growing, laughing, stumbling, and slowly finding balance in a world Hannah once believed she would never belong to. Each day Dominic watched her change. Her dark skin glowed with new confidence. Her smile became brighter. Her steps became graceful. Her voice steadier. She was still Hannah, the gentle, humble girl from the riverbank, but now she carried herself with a quiet bravery that melted his heart. And with every single day that passed, Dominic fell deeper. He tried to hide it, but Mrs. Beasy noticed. The maids noticed. Even the guards noticed. Only Hannah remained unaware of the storm she had caused inside him. One Saturday morning, Dominic told her, "Pack something simple. We're going somewhere special." Hannah's heart raced. The drive was long, familiar, and confusing. When they finally stepped out of the car, Hannah froze. They were back at the same riverbank where everything began. The same spot where she had found Dominic collapsed and helpless. The same place she pressed her lips to his to give him breath. The same water that had carried their destiny. Her eyes softened. You brought me back here?" Dominic nodded. "Yes, because this is where my life changed." He stepped closer to her. "This is where you saved me. And not just my life, Hannah. You saved my heart too." Her lips parted in shock. He took her hands gently. "I was lost before I met you. I had everything money could buy, but nothing that made me feel alive. Then you appeared, this brave, innocent, dark-skinned angel who didn't even know who I was. And you saved me without thinking twice." Her eyes watered. "Dominic." He shook his head softly. "No, let me finish. He took a deep breath, voice trembling slightly for the first time. Hannah. Somewhere between bringing you to my home and watching you bloom, I fell in love with you. Completely. Honestly. Deeply. Her tears fell freely now. I don't expect you to say it back right away, he whispered. But I want you to know. You're not just someone I helped. You're someone I want to share my life with. Hannah's heart beat so fast it hurt. She had never imagined a man like him, a billionaire, powerful, handsome, would ever look at her this way. She stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. Dominic, when I first came to your house, I was scared. I felt like I didn't belong. But you made me feel seen. You made me feel safe. You made me feel like my life mattered. She placed her hand on his chest. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you too. Dominic's breath stopped. He pulled her gently into his arms, holding her as if she were the most precious thing on earth. And at the very same riverbank where destiny brought them together, they kissed, slow, emotional, filled with gratitude and love. When they returned to the mansion, Hannah felt something new blooming inside her. Confidence. Love. She walked beside Dominic not as a scared village girl, but as a woman stepping into her future. Dominic introduced her to his business partners, his friends, even to the media when the time came. Many gossiped. Many criticized. But Dominic stood beside her proudly. And Hannah proved everyone wrong, with her humility, her intelligence, her grace. Months later, in a beautiful garden behind the mansion, decorated with golden lights and blooming flowers, Dominic knelt down and held out a simple but elegant diamond ring. Hannah, will you marry me? She covered her mouth, tears pouring. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and the entire garden erupted with cheers. Weeks later, on their wedding day, Dominic lifted her into his arms, spinning her around as she laughed, a sound he knew he wanted to hear for the rest of his life. Epilogue. Destiny never makes mistakes. 1 year later, the mansion that once felt too big for Hannah now echoed with laughter, joy, and the soft cries of a newborn baby girl named Zara. Dominic kissed his wife softly on the forehead as she held their baby. If you hadn't saved my life, Dominic whispered, none of this would exist. Hannah smiled, tears warming her eyes. I think God wanted our paths to cross, she replied. He wrote this story himself. Dominic wrapped his arm around her. And as the sun set over the city, their little family cuddled together. Proof that destiny can begin anywhere, even on a dusty riverbank where a humble village girl saved a billionaire with nothing but courage and a kiss. A love story written by fate, and sealed forever by their hearts. Dominic knelt down and held out a simple but elegant diamond ring. Hannah, will you marry me? She covered her mouth, tears pouring. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and the entire garden erupted with cheers. Dominic lifted her into his arms, spinning her around as she laughed, a sound he knew he wanted to hear for the rest of his life. Epilogue. Destiny never makes mistakes. 1 year later, the mansion that once felt too big for Hannah now echoed with laughter, joy, and the soft cries of a newborn baby girl named Zara. Dominic kissed his wife softly on the forehead as she held their baby. If you hadn't saved my life, Dominic whispered, none of this would exist. Hannah smiled, tears warming her eyes. I think God wanted our paths to cross, she replied. He wrote this story himself. Dominic wrapped his arm around her. And as the sun set over the city, their little family cuddled together. Proof that destiny can begin anywhere, even on a dusty riverbank where a humble village girl saved a billionaire with nothing but courage and a kiss. A love story written by fate, and sealed forever by their hearts. Dominic knelt down and held out a simple but elegant diamond ring. Hannah, will you marry me? She covered her mouth, tears pouring. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and the entire garden erupted with cheers. Dominic lifted her into his arms, spinning her around as she laughed, a sound he knew he wanted to hear for the rest of his life. 1 year later, the mansion that once felt too big for Hannah now echoed with laughter, joy, and the soft cries of a newborn baby girl named Zara. Dominic kissed his wife softly on the forehead as she held their baby. If you hadn't saved my life, Dominic whispered, none of this would exist. Hannah smiled, tears warming her eyes. I think God wanted our paths to cross, she replied. He wrote this story himself. Dominic wrapped his arm around her. And as the sun set over the city, their little family cuddled together. Proof that destiny can begin anywhere, even on a dusty riverbank where a humble village girl saved a billionaire with nothing but courage and a kiss. A love story written by fate, and sealed forever by their hearts. If you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe for more of the story. See you again in the next story. Thank you for watching.